Okay, regular listeners of this show know about my love of the Beatles and every and anything related to them. Well, as you know by reading the description, this week's guest is May Pang, John Lennon's girlfriend during his famous Lost Weekend. And May stars in a new documentary about that time. And you know what? It's. I'm not going to waste any more time with the preamble. It's time for Minutia Men Celebrity Interview.
The following is a Tony Lasano podcast, an Opie show on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. This is the Minutia Men Celebrity Interview with Rick and Dave.
So this week, no Dave. It's just me. I kicked Dave out so May and I could spend some time together. It's a big thrill for me, May. First of all, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. That was funny.
I watched the documentary. Yes, just the two of us. I watched the documentary. It's fantastic. It's really a great story. It's called The Lost Weekend, A Love Story. Just to set the stage for us, and I'll get into a little more specific questions later, but can you tell us the exact time period we're talking about?
In this case, it'd be 73, 1919. God, it sounds so terrible, so far away.
It's only 50 years ago.
Oh, it's only, and yes. And can you believe it is 50 years ago this whole thing started. 1973 to the beginning of 1975. Excuse me.
Okay.
I'm still choking from before.
Yeah.
But 1975, and we touch on a little bit time after that, but that's the time frame.
Okay. Now, it actually is even before that a little bit too, right? Because how old were you when you first started working for them? Was it in 73 that you started working for John and Yoko?
No.
Okay, yeah, I thought so. I thought it was before that. Because you were there for Imagine. When I in the film, you were there for the making of Imagine. So tell us about meeting them and getting started. It even goes
back even further than that. It goes back. My first part to partake in was in their movies called Up Your Legs Forever, where you go and ask people to donate their leg for peace, and Fly, which was the other one. So I started that let's see, that was in December of 70. So I had just turned 20.
Okay. And we're talking about some pretty unusual projects, right? I mean, Fly was about a naked woman who just had a fly walking all over her, right?
True. Then it was all done. It was all shot in the dead of winter. So it was kind of hard to get flies, but they had apparently, because there's a lot of people working on it, they got some people to order flies from, I guess, a laboratory that you can buy them.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And then when you exhaust that and it doesn't work anymore, we were trying to catch them in Chinese restaurants. And, I had college students coming out and say, we got to catch some flies.
It's a very showbiz is very glamorous, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, you read about all these things that, everybody's, you're so lucky. I said, not if you're working hours upon hours and it's just forever, that type of thing. And you don't get sleep. And it's, you're doing the most unusual things to get this film made. I mean, the first one was actually Up Your Legs Forever. And it was quite interesting when Yoko came over to me and she said, okay, I want you to call these people up, tell them you work for me, you're my assistant. And she said, and tell them if they can come down and donate their legs for peace. So I'm looking at this list in her phone book. We're talking about Jackie Kennedy, we're talking about Andy Warhol, we're talking about the cream of the crop of people. And I'm saying, yes, hi, can you come down and donate your leg for peace? And then we got your local people that, there were a couple of other people working, but I was the one on the phone. The other people were downstairs trying to get people off the street. Can you come up here and donate your legs for peace? It's a project, and somebody would say, you mean they're upstairs? John Lennon and Yoko Ono are upstairs? They say, yes. They're the filmmakers, they're the directors, and and then there was the rush of people coming upstairs.
Yeah.
But could you imagine? I mean, I was just happy. I didn't do it. I just said, I'm not doing this one. So it was nice that I can to get on the phone. That was me.
Did you get any bad responses from anybody? Did anybody just, hang up on you?
A lot of them laughed. And, I mean, they go, donate your legs for peace. How much of the leg are you showing? I said, I just need you from your toes to your thigh. I mean, I had a whole repertoire going, telling people.
Yeah.
So we did that for a couple of days. And then after that, then we went on to the next one. I mean, other people knew what the agenda was, and I had no idea. I get there and then they said, okay. I said, what's going on? John was just sitting around. It was really basically Yoko's short film that was being made.
Right. It sounds like a Yoko project. Yeah. Now, having watched the film now, I have to say that to me, the most poignant moments in the documentary were really the parts with you and Julian. Two of you have an obvious affection for each other. You experienced a lot together during your time, because John was out doing stuff, and Julian was able to hang out. You went to the set of Happy Days. You did all sorts of cool stuff together. But you two obviously love each other. That's very touching.
Thank you. I mean, I do love him. It was, he was a great kid because he's no longer a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say right here, we don't want to give away the whole thing so that people need to see the movie so they can get the feel of just what went on.
Yeah, no, I'm intentionally not telling some of the big reveals there.
I just want people to be surprised. I think the whole thing is that Julian, it's like any kid from any family. You need, you want to see your parents. If they're not together, you want to see them at different times. And I thought it was very important for John to see Julian and for Julian to see John. And it had been a while. And I was glad that I can help put that together. And I was also happy that I could give Cynthia Lennon, John's first wife, some closure to her relationship with John as well, because she hadn't seen him all these years. So it was, I was just glad that I can make it all work.
Yeah. Well, to me, the movie has a lot of revelations in it. And one of them is just a complete misunderstanding of what the Lost Weekend even was, how it started and all that stuff. I mean, most Beatles fans think they know it, but there are myths and legends that are just not true. And would you like to dispel some of those? What have you heard all these years that you go, that's not true?
Oh, there's plenty out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had people come up to me and say, I know everything about you. And I'll just look at them and go, oh, that's nice. Uh-huh. You do? They go, yes, absolutely. You don't have to tell me anything. I know everything about you. And I think one of the big myths is probably the fact that Yoko had sent us to L.A. She didn't. She didn't even. She wasn't in town. John decided to do that, and he wanted us to go. That was one of those big things.
That's a pretty big thing, by the way. As opposed to the way it's been portrayed all these years.
Yeah, I know. I'm one of the little guys in that sense that everybody liked to follow the party line, and I'm still a working person, and I do everything. I don't have the I guess what most celebrities have, somebody to take care of the press.
Right.
So I just do what I can do, as it were.
Now, some of the things also were true as far as how wild it was and how wild John got in particular. And
I can deal with that.
Isn't that true?
But I'm going to tell you that's another myth in there too.
Is it? Okay.
Well, when you read the story, and this is where the Lost Weekend for him, how it had started, because he loves to use those metaphors. And, at that time, and I'm sure a lot of the younger set would never know that the Lost Weekend was also a movie that Ray Milland was in, about a guy who was a drunk every night.
Yeah.
And when people would ask him, they would say, it was a long lost weekend and, that type of thing. But here's the thing. When you read it, it's the same, almost the same 2 or 3, incidents and stuff. Yeah. So now that's carried on for a full year and a half with me. And that's not the way it actually happened. So if you read about it, you're hearing about the troubadour. And then if you read it, it's about the same story that happened, only with, we just put it into another publication.
Is that the Smothers Brothers concert story?
Yeah, that's the one. Well, a couple. Yeah, that one was that was the biggest, and so that's everything. Almost everything happened basically at the Troubadour. So it was the same 3 that we're talking about over and over. But yes, and then there was definitely Phil Spector. That was the other. Yeah.
But, didn't they call this group the Hollywood Vampires? And that
was the name that was given after. It wasn't before. And John is only an honorary member.
Oh,
he wasn't there.
Okay.
He was not there full time. I mean, Harry Nilsson, Alice Cooper, I believe Mickey Dolenz, because they all lived in Hollywood. We were the visitors. And that was another myth. We did not live in LA. We were visitors, and we would fly out of there, come back. We always considered New York our home.
And that, that was another thing that I just did not realize. That, I always thought of John as, this multi-gazillionaire, 100 millionaire. And he was on a budget of like $3,000 a month when you guys were in LA, right?
Absolutely. Well, it was even less. What had happened, we borrowed money for our household, me and John, because we were in the middle of a lawsuit. Right. He was really, and so the receivership in England said, okay, all 4 guys got a budget of like $3,000.
That's amazing.
And yeah, I know, but remember, $3,000 in those days.
I know, but still,
a lot more.
It
sounds. I know.
Right. I mean, he was driving around in a Rolls Royce in England before that, so it's like.
Not here, not in.
No,
we were couch surfing, and I've never seen so many homes that supposedly John and I stayed at during our quote lost weekend.
Oh, really?
I mean, every time I read it was like, this is where they live. This is, and I'm reading it. I'm going, I don't know this address. I don't know whose house this is. Who did we visit? Because we only stayed, and I will say this, we only stayed in our lawyer's place that was in West Hollywood. We stayed after that at Lou Adler's place, beautiful home up in Bel Air that he loaned us for a short time. The third place we stayed in, it was the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. Both the new part and the old part. The new part was modern, and there was a duplex apartment that we stayed in, and we had. It was kind of funny because it was either Ringo and us, or it was Harry Nilsson took over when Ringo left. That was a revolving door on one of the bedrooms, and then the last one was the famous beach house that we had out in Santa Monica.
We'll get into that in a second.
Those are the only 4 places, folks. That's it.
Okay, so if you hear any other place, it's a lie. It just did not happen.
Or we could have visited, but that was not a place we stayed.
Okay.
Definitely.
Now, tell me about your 23rd birthday, because if I'm not mistaken, that was a big deal in this film. I'll tell you what I did on my 23rd birthday. I went to my mom's house, and she made me a grilled cheese sandwich. Tell me about your 23rd birthday, because it sounded like a little more exciting than mine.
You think? I don't. Know. I did not expect. It was a morning, and we were, and I got this key and it was to a used car. I wish I knew where it was now, but it was to a 68 Barracuda.
Yeah.
And, it was fabulous. You could drive. And that's all it needed. And that was my birthday gift along, as the major gift from John. Because I did the driving. It was just, he liked the idea. There was no limo, no nothing. It was just the two of us. So I, took care of that. And it was great because I would drive everybody around. And then, of course, we went on to the studio that day, and we were filming a promo video for Mind Games. And on that day, we go to the studio. Tony King, who was one of our general manager from Apple Records in England, we had him dress up like the Queen of England. And how fitting.
Yeah.
And Tony King as the Queen.
Uh-huh.
So, and that on that day, he also introduced one of his close friends to us and to John, especially. His name is Elton John.
Yeah.
So that's when we all met. It was on my birthday.
Yeah. And then you had a grilled cheese sandwich, or
and then let's see, did I have that? I'm not sure if I had the grilled cheese, but I know maybe it was my bacon and eggs. I like that for breakfast. You know
what is cool about your movie is just the sheer number of important events that you witnessed. I mean, like historical events that happened during this lost weekend, which is considered, a lost weekend. Hey, it was one of John's most productive eras musically, don't you think?
Oh, well, I'd be biased, but I would say so because I could name a few things that happened during that time period.
Yeah, well, all right. Tell me about. I'll list some, and you don't have to tell me all of these, but just tell me which ones you want to. There was the night Phil Spector pulled out a gun during a recording session. The inspiration for and the recording of Whatever Gets You Through the Night, which was John's first #1 hit since the Beatles.
It was the only #1 hit that he had in his lifetime.
Right.
And the single, yeah.
The recording of Harry Nilsson's album in the house that you mentioned, the beach house. The very last time John and Paul played together, you witnessed that. The moment the Beatles officially ended, you took the picture. John's last public performance on stage with Elton John in Madison Square Garden, you were there. There's this really unusual story about John and Paul and running into each other in cabs, side by side cabs.
Yeah.
Pick a story and tell me any of those, because those were unbelievable.
Okay, let me see which is the best one. I think. Well, I'll choose the Phil Spector with the gun. How's that?
Great.
Okay, because that's come out a few times. I think. Once I wrote about that, everybody then came out with a story about Phil.
Yeah.
We were doing a playback at that point. It was the Record Plant Studios. And we were listening back to the song. And John and had gone into another room, the client area, with Phil and Mal Evans, who was, of course, the roadie, the original roadie from the Beatles.
Right.
So we're listening, and all of a sudden I hear this big pop, and you see everybody's head, everybody just ducking. But I'm just such a New York City girl. I'm going, what was that? Not thinking what it might be, And the person standing next to me, which is really amazing, was Phil's mother.
Whoa.
She was actually standing. Yes, I had Mother Bertha standing next to me. She happened to come to the studio. I never thought I would meet her, but she was standing next to me. And I remember running towards the sound, opening up the door, and I'm seeing John with his finger in his ear going, Phil, you're going to shoot me. Basically that's what he was saying because, he goes, I need these ears to listen, and Phil holding the gun and Mal Evans grabbing it out of his hand. He goes, you shouldn't have this. And Phil says, you can't tell me what to do type of thing. And I finally said, can someone just tell me what just happened? I was almost, even though I was the youngest in this group, you thought I was the oldest because I took charge of what was going on. And Mal said, oh, we were just horsing around. And Phil kept hitting Mal in the nose. And so all Mal did was say, hey, Phil, can you not do that? Because it hurts me.
Because Mal could have crushed him. Because Mal was a big guy and Phil was a little guy. Oh, absolutely. He
was like 6'4", 6'5", big, brawny type of man. And this Phil, who's like maybe 5'4", 5'5", and in his Cuban heels. And I'm sitting there going, what? And they're saying, oh, we were, horsing around, and he kept hitting me in the nose. He goes, all I did was ask him to stop.
Wow.
And Phil did not like that. And as he's pulling the gun out of his holster, the gun goes off. He could have shot somebody. So now, fast forward, everybody calmed down. We all went back to listening to the playback. Next day, John and I are at a restaurant, and Mal's looking for us, and he says, he goes, there you are. I said, what? And he goes, I've been looking for you. We said, well, why? And he goes, well, here's the bullet from last night.
Oh, my God.
And John and I were just like, bullet? What bullet? All this time that John and I had seen Phil carry a gun, we really thought they were blanks.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Okay, so that's the story on that.
In front of his mother.
Yes.
That's the shocking part to me.
Oh, there's other things that are shocking. I've seen him in court in front of a judge who's not exactly, I'm just like, John and I were kind of like freaked out, thinking you would think he would be a little more calmer being in a court of law, but no. Yeah, he still acted a little wild.
Did not turn out well for him, as it turns out. Yeah.
No, it didn't. And, we were none of the friends. We all talked about it. We were, you're shocked by what happened, by the events, but none of us were really that surprised by it either.
Tell us about that last appearance that he did at Madison Square Garden, because I think it's painted beautifully. The story is told beautifully in the film, but if you can give us just like a little encapsulation of what people can see when they see this movie.
Oh, I think it's John going through those paces, and in the back. He was nervous that night. There was no two ways about it. And when he got on stage, he made sure that I was within full view, so he can see me. He wanted to see my immediate reaction to him singing. And it was right past Elton's piano. That's where I was standing, so that when John turned his head to the right, he could actually just see me. And he was so thrilled. He was so thrilled at the end of the night that it was over. Yeah. And that's another myth. Everybody thought that, our relationship had ended, and that's not what happened. Right. We continued on. I know, because that's one of the big myths, that he went home, he did this. That's not what happened.
Right. Yeah, that's another interesting thing. And I urge people to check out the movie to see those other stories. I'm not going to make you tell them all, because they're all in the movie. So they're all worth seeing. And the John and Paul stuff, to me, is always the most interesting because of their complicated relationship. I think that'd be a fair way of putting it, wouldn't you?
Yes.
And
I mean, just so they did have a very complicated relationship, but let me put it this way: that when I was around, we saw a lot of them.
Right. So that's a good thing. Yeah. And I was actually touched by the love story between you and John too, and that it's a much deeper thing than people think. And you should just go watch it. That's my best advice to you. If you're a Beatles fan like me, you'll love it. But here's something I will never get a chance to ask anyone, so I have to ask you, okay?
Okay.
We call this show Minutia Men Celebrity Interview because we kind of get into the minutia sometimes of celebrities' lives. And you can answer some questions that nobody else in the world can answer, all right? And here they are.
Okay.
Are you getting nervous?
Oh, I'm
No.
shaking.
Here we go. What kind of snack food did John eat? What was his like go-to munch on? I want to get some food.
Ooh, that's an interesting one. He would eat anything. He really, when we were together, he'd eat anything. You know, he just if mine was potato chips, he was munching on those as well. You know, anything that was around, he would munch on. He liked his coffee in the morning, just so that you know that he was a big coffee drinker. He always used to say, when you're in America, you drink the coffee. When you're in England, you drink tea.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then,
what about? All right, here's one for you. His favorite brand of toothpaste or shampoo, or both, if you know.
I'm just trying to think. I think it's whatever. I don't think he really had.
It's whatever you gave him, basically, right?
Yeah, it was whatever. You know, I think probably back then, I think the toothpaste was probably Colgate for all we know, because the variety is not as big as it is now.
That's true. It was either Crest or Colgate, basically, in those days. Yeah.
And, you know, and shampoo was not as big what we have now either. So whatever it is, if it smelled good and it got your hair clean, that's what you know, he used. And we kept the place fairly good for him. And, you know, the one thing I didn't have, and I'm not sure it was available to the public, was that he always used to tell Julian, don't forget to brush your teeth. The English have terrible teeth. You know?
Right.
And John was very careful about that, because he would always say, I have a hole in my tooth, you know, because that's where the food got trapped. And I understand that when the food gets trapped in there, I'm looking for the floss immediately, you know, that type of thing. But he liked to also brush his tongue. You know, he always, you know, and he was very keen on that. And I used to carry his toothpick. And I found it the other day in one of my drawers. You know, I keep all sorts of little things. And I just found his toothpick that I would carry in my bag for him whenever he needed it.
Okay. See, now we're getting some information here that other people don't get. The other thing is, you mentioned in the movie that he watched a ton of TV. The TV was on all the time. What was his favorite show? What were some of the types of things that he liked to watch?
You know, he was his favorite show, I will say, was Johnny Carson. He never met the man.
Wow.
He loved Johnny Carson. Yeah, he loved Johnny Carson. Of course, remember when the Beatles came and they finally got on the Tonight Show, it was Joe Garagiola.
That's right.
So it wasn't Johnny. And I'll never forget when you see it, you see John going, "Where's Johnny?" He was so disappointed. But he really loved watching him. He just thought he was brilliant. And then of course later on we had on the advent of having cable, he was channel surfing all the time on cable, because that was like the wild frontier. Yeah. All those everything from porn to evangelists, like Reverend Ike, and that's how he got whatever gets you through the night, you know. So watching straight all around different variety of shows out there.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, thank you for that. And thank you for doing the interview. You've been very patient with me. If people want to find out more about you and the film, where can they do that?
Well, right now they can go on the lostweekendtickets.com, and the event they should go to the theater, because this is the movie in the big theater, and it's going to sound great. It's filmed in 4K, and the sound is 5.1. You're going to hear that. And they should do it for April 13th. This is where they can find out where it's playing close to them somewhere, hopefully. Meanwhile, I'm also doing a photo exhibition tour And, over the summer, I'm adding different things onto my tour. They could probably find out either on my Facebook or my website. I'll be putting that out where I'm going to be. Hopefully, I'll be coming to Chicago.
That'd be great.
There you go. Yeah.
So the website is maypang.com. Is that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I see. I just guessed.
How simple.
Isn't that impressive?
How simple.
Well,
if I made it any more complicated, it'd be like, I know someone said that to me. They said, "Oh, it's your name. It's that easy."
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah. How about it?"
It's called branding. Well. I appreciate you being on the show, May. If you do come to Chicago, I will try to track you down and we can meet in person. And I really enjoyed this very much. Thanks for being on the show.
Oh, thank you. I had a great time, so that's wonderful. Thank you. And hopefully everybody will hear your show. And and on top of that, this film will probably go to the United Kingdom and the English-speaking countries somewhere in June.
Okay.
I know I've been getting a lot of those notices, too.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
There she is, May Pang. I have a million questions I could have asked her. I had exactly 30 minutes with her, so I think I used up all my time. But, boy, that was interesting. Yeah, I'm a nerd. We have people to thank. We have to provide our special thanks to executive producer Tony Lasana with opishows.com. Opie is hippo backwards, OPPIH shows.com. We got to thank Brandon Herman, who scored this interview for me. I'm very appreciative of that. We're distributed by Ed Silla with Radio Misfits. Great Talk Radio isn't dead. It just moved to a better place. RadioMisfits.com. And we'll be back again next week with a brand new episode of Minutia Men's Celebrity Interview.
The preceding was a presentation of Opie Productions. Find our other great shows wherever you find podcasts, including opishows.com. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of Opie Productions.
Tony, can you shut up?